Hi, I'm Dr. Carol Clark. I'm the president and the lead instructor of the International Institute of Clinical Sexology and the president of the Therapist Certification Association. And our program offers individual standalone certifications in sex therapy, clinical sexology, kink conscious education, transgender care, hypnotherapy and sexuality, and sex addiction and compulsivity, which includes all addictions. So today, I'm really proud and happy to introduce Francesca Gentile, who is going to do our newest program, which is the Kink Conscious Education. And I'm going to turn it over to her to tell you all about it. So Francesca, thank you so much for being with us.
I'm delighted to be here, and this is such an exciting topic. When we think of kink conscious education, kink conscious counseling, kink conscious coaching, when we think of who we are as a clinician and the amount of people that we're seeing more and more interested in kink or BDSM, recent studies show that the population is increasing in how we identify as kinky or into BDSM. A 2005 study showed that 36% of us identified as into kink or BDSM. And a 1999 study of university students said that 65% of them identified with having a desire to be tied up. And that's even years ago. Where we are today, when we've had the 50 Shades and this New York Times bestseller, and the amount of interest that we have today, it's just increasing. Studies are now showing that instead of being a pathology, that more and more people who identify as into kink or BDSM are in measures as healthy or even healthier when it comes to talking about their sexuality, discussing boundaries, looking at some of their core issues than the average population might be. These are all topics that we'll be going into together. We want to be well versed in this. We want to be sure that we have looked ourselves. Do we have any of those older, outmoded belief systems about this being dangerous or unhealthy, bringing that into consciousness so that we can, let that go. Raising our educational awareness so that with a sense of confidence or certainty, we can guide our clients or our patients to resources that are going to be the most helpful for them in their exploration, and how to really support them to do this in a way that is safer. Those of us who are in sexuality know that there is no such thing as safe sex, but we know that there is safer sex, and it is the same for BDSM or kink. Will there always be some, risk? Absolutely. But in the world of kink and BDSM, there is risk-aware kink or safe, sane, and consensual kink. And we want to be sure that we know what that is, how to support our clients and our patients to find it and work with it in a way that really supports their identifications of their own limits and boundaries, wants and needs, capacity to negotiate. And this helps them in all their relationships. As I began to study and research this, I would hear from people within the kink and BDSM community that identifying with this and studying this is really a great thing about our kinky and BDSM populations, is that they love education. They are very willing to read books. They're very willing to go to classes. And in many ways, they become a favorite client because of this eagerness to lean into knowledge and self-knowledge and actually improve all their relations. So we're, as clinicians, this is a very, very exciting thing to work with. Now we're also going to see that age-old problem of sexual differences. When one partner identifies as kinky or into BDSM and one doesn't, or has their own concerns or fears or judgments about that. And in kink conscious education and certification, you'll get the support as a clinician on how to bridge those differences and really help them come into a place of collaboration together, where they can see themselves on the same side, working together to create something that works, rather than see themselves as oppositional and disconnecting in a relationship that otherwise might be great or might be fabulous. We'll also be looking at that concern that can be there, which in these fantasies or in these desires, could there be something that we might say is a pathology or is arising from, another way of languaging that is, a wounded place? Could that be the case? It could be the case. And how do we support the client to understand that without any sense of judgmentalism? And something very surprising could be that once they understand where this is coming from and why, there may still be a pathway to explore this desire or fantasy, and yet relieved of the obsession or the compulsion. So we're now looking at that crossover at times between where might sex addiction show up in kink or BDSM, and where is it just a desire? There's also the other issue. Should everything that's in the realm of our desires or fantasies actually be made manifest? How do we know? How do we know? How do we choose? And how do we help our clients also assess that in a way that supports the vibrancy in all of their life? So we'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at what are the cultural norms. We want to stay cutting edge. Of course we do. What's happening out in culture? Where is the culture evolving sexually? Every decade or so, our younger generation wants to identify as different than their parents. Where are they now? And how is the younger generations pushing in a certain way the evolution of sexual culture or sexual consciousness? And how are they languaging it? The language actually shifts over time. And how do we include that? Where does kink cross over with non-monogamy? Where doesn't it? Where does it cross over with transgender work? And where doesn't it? Where does it cross over with some of the work of inner aspects or inner archetypes that we might find in Jungian psychology? And where doesn't it? So we'll be looking at all of this, including some of the latest research. And of course, my favorite, you'll be coming to San Francisco to spend time with me and going out into the kink and BDSM community, perhaps the premier kink and BDSM community in the world. People come from all over the world to San Francisco to really explore what is happening with our kink and BDSM community. And I am involved in that community, and I will be your entree and introduce you to the people that are here, some of the experts that are here, and allow, really support you to have the opportunity to, in a sense, do your own research, talk to people, get connected, hear what you need to hear, and really help ground for yourself what is, in a sense, your own personal research versus the statistics that you might be reading in what somebody else has produced. So I'm excited to be sharing this journey with you, excited to see where we're going to get to, what we're going to discover together, what we're going to learn together, and also what we're going to be harvesting from what the experts have already discovered, so we're not reinventing the wheel, on the pathway to become kink conscious educators, sexologists, clinicians, therapists. I look forward to sharing this with you.
Thank you so much. This sounds really exciting, and just what you were talking about shows how much there is to learn about all this, and probably is shaking up a lot of people as far as thinking, okay, what is kink, BDSM, non-monogamy? You're talking about all these things. So the program is tailored for clinicians, and that includes mental health counselors, marriage and family therapists, clinical social workers, physicians, nurses, nurse practitioners, people who are in any kind of way interacting with people who may be in the kink community. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And anyone who is interacting with clients or patients who are exploring this. And any clinician it's so important to have this background so that we know how to give them resources, where to send them, when to be concerned and when not to be concerned. And we're going to be just the whole course. If you take the entire course, it's a 240-hour certification, PhD certification specialty, which is amazing. And Carol and I just did the math on this. So the course is available if you were to take, one course, at kind of a more a la carte approach. And by taking the entire course together, whether you go for the PhD or not, you'll get the certification, you'll get the continuing education units, and you'll actually save $700 versus if you took it, piecemeal here and there and here and there. So, yeah.
Right. So just for everybody listening, this is a program that will lead to a certification for any licensed clinician. They can be certified in kink conscious therapy or certified as a kink conscious professional. We are a continuing education provider for various boards in Florida. For ASECT, that's pending, but we're hoping that will get approved. And for the NBCC, National Board of Certified Counselors. And so most other boards will accept credits from this program. The cost of the program is $24.99 when you take the program in total. However, if you do want CEs for just part of the program, you can take a day, 5 hours, and get 5 CEs. So if there's a particular area of interest for you, that you want to take one class or a couple of classes and not commit to the whole program, you're certainly welcome to do that. Our website is therapycertificationtraining.org, therapycertificationtraining.org. So please visit us there. And is there anything else that we might have forgotten to discuss here?
The only thing that I might add, if for some of you who might be listening and saying, well, what is kink and what is BDSM? I mean, it's complicated, but what is it? And one of the things that I invite us to start to look at as I started out with some of the studies is that there's a whole spectrum of this. And what I discover with many of my clients is that people can be surprisingly on this spectrum. So the minute that somebody might have a fantasy or a desire to be tied up or held down or bitten or have what we might consider to be rough sex, you're starting to enter this realm of bondage, domination, sadomasochism, what's called power exchange, meaning someone is the guide and someone is the guided. So if I even say, honey, tonight, I'm going to be in charge. And I want you to just surrender to the pleasure that I'm going to give you. Like, in a sense, I'm already in this realm of BDSM because I've now said that I'm in charge and I've asked someone to let go. And if I have a longing to have someone else in charge, when we think of the bodice ripping romances where the man is supposed to somehow magically figure out just the right moment where she wants to be swept off her feet and have her clothes ripped off, and he just will intuit just the right way that she wants her neck bitten or whatever. That in a sense they all have a little sense of the dominant, taking the submissive on a neurotic journey. And so that's, in a sense, that's the beginning. We'll also be looking at, there's this spectrum that then people say, like, what about the weird stuff, and where we might say, weird to whom? But if we pretend to be a little kitten or a puppy and that's a whole realm of BDSM. If we, I love that in psychology we have the inner child work. Well, in BDSM they have the inner child work too. It's just something different. So I love to talk about the crossover and the differences there. And then we also have that sense of, what if you want to be peed on? What if you want to do something with poop? What if you this? What if you that? And one of the things that I bring to this is that I've also studied cross-cultural shamanism. And we look at some of the shamanic backgrounds, like this really ancient spiritual practices that, interestingly enough, show up in modern kink. And when we can give our clients this framework that their desires and fantasies may actually have, be in the collective unconscious as something really ancient and sacred, it relieves shame. And this is a huge part of contributing to the wholeness, the peacefulness, the vibrancy, the sexual vibrancy of our clients, is having the tools to support them to release shame. So we'll be going really deeply into where might some of these neurobiologically, in terms of ancient psychology, where might some of these desires actually come from?
This is going to be amazing. And so I hope everyone will check us out, therapycertificationtraining.org, and feel free to call the therapy certification training line at 305-891-1827. That's 305-891-1827. And we're looking forward to seeing you either for certification, or that certification will count towards a PhD in clinical sexology. So see you soon. Bye-bye. Okay, I just stopped recording. You are masterful. Awesome. So I hope I hope I didn't screw it up too much, because I was sort of like ditzy. But anyway.
You were great, honey. I think you were very
You know what I
articulate.
did? No, you know what we forgot to do? I'm like thinking of these things. We have 3 or 4 websites that I bought, domain names. And I forgot to mention them. I just started babbling about the therapy certification training. It doesn't matter. They all go to the same place, but still, we need to be pushing that out there. Kink Conscious. So what we have? Kink Conscious. I gave them all to you. I can't remember them all. Kink Conscious.
Kink Conscious.
KinkConscious.org, right?
KinkConscious.org. Kink Conscious Education. I think there's Kink Conscious.
I don't know if, I forgot to see if Evan is funneling them through yet. So it's probably better for now. We can always, redo this down the line. Okay, let me stop this meeting and we'll start the next one, and we'll just talk about the upcoming non-monogamous lifestyles.
Okay, just a second. Let me change gears and tune into non-monogamous lifestyles.
So I'm going to stop this meeting and start the next one.
Okay.